the industry stability and the extra 1% to improve the mediator proposal would have amounted to a 9.5% in the first year and 9% in the second year. This is a position we told them that we were willing to take and recommend as a settlement to our members. Unfortunately, employers maintained a rigid stance and rejected all our movements and attempts to find a settlement. In response, all unions collectively are left with no option but to resolve to intensify the strike, and the current offer is rejected with the contempt it deserves. Unions collectively call on all members in the bus passenger sector to intensify the strike until such time that employers make an offer that can settle the strike. We are calling on all our progressive communities that we understand their plight, but request them to be patient and to fully support this just strike and the struggle for workers for a living wage. To the extent that this strike is affecting our communities negatively and the rest of the economy, we are calling on the government to intervene in the interest of workers to ensure that a settlement is found, in particular the Department of Transport and the Department of Labor. And this statement is issued by the following unions: is Satau, NUMSA, Tirisano, Tausa, and TOU. I thank you very much.
I think we can take questions.
So, are you saying as of tomorrow or as of Monday, are bus drivers going back to the streets, basically? Is that the result until government comes in and intervenes?
Yes, no, it's true. Tomorrow, our members are continuing the strike. However, we'll be meeting with them and reporting the response from the employer. But we are pleading with our members that the strike is continuing. We need to intensify the strike because the employers have not yet met their demands.
I think just to add, I think very clearly workers are on strike. I think we very clear as union that this strike is very effective. Many communities remain very stranded. Our members are on strike. And we have resolved, all of us as unions that are here, consciously to intensify the strike, not because we want to punish our communities. And we're very clear that this is a foreign tool in order to end the current fiasco of a strike which is imposed on workers by intransigence of the employers. And yes, I think the strike has been continuing very well, and the purpose of coming out as a collective and in one voice is to say all other doubting Thomases who have not joined the strike, it is high time that they must join the strike, and the strike continues until such time that employers basically meet our demands.
Here from Eyewitness News. I understand that you say that the employer may have been for the past 2 days basically negotiating in bad faith. Just to have some clarity on it, despite the mood of bad faith and the CCMA's intervention, was there no other way but, that negotiations could continue besides intensifying the strike?
Not unless you don't understand. I think we remain available. CCMA left here. We committed to CCMA that it is not them who failed this process. It is employers. And as such, they left here saying their door is open to parties. And unfortunately, as unions, we've got nothing to offer to ourselves. It is employers who must come with an extra 1%, which we were very willing to go and recommend to our members. You must remember that as unions, we don't represent ourselves, we represent the interests of our members. All what we've been doing here is to do movements that we think that they are fair to our members, that are fair to employers, they can be able to meet those demands. And we're not saying we're intensifying the strike for the sake of the strike. We're intensifying the strike in order to end the strike. And therefore, we're available for negotiations tonight, tomorrow, and the whole weekend. We want the strike to have ended as yesterday. That's why we're saying government must also intervene. It can't continue to deal with the strike through statements. Different ministries, we encourage parties to end the strike. The best way of ending any strike is to push parties to move from their positions. We are unions that are here that have moved from their position without even going back to our members, but we're not having a partner on the part of the employers that is willing to play a bona fide constructive role to resolve the strike.
Maybe to add on that, that's one of the reasons why we have allowed the CCMA facilitation. From our side, it was an indication that we are prepared to resolve the strike as soon as possible. But unfortunately, we don't have an option. We are dealing with the employers who are not prepared to bring their part. We initially had a mandate of 12%. We moved from that mandate to 9.5% first year and 9% second year. It's an indication that as union collectively, we wanted to negotiate with the employer in good faith.
Obviously, the more the strike goes on, it's the workers that are going to be affected because they stand to lose over the no work, no pay policy. Are you concerned about this? And secondly, what do you make of the employer's attitude of really not wanting to sign and accept your offer?
You can go next. Can take that. I can take that. I think it's important to understand what is a strike. A strike is not a dinner party. Once workers embark on strike, we do so as a last resort. We would have done everything, as you would appreciate in the statement. One of the things we're raising is that there was, with deadlock in March, there was a 30-day cooling off period. Employers completely refused to actually negotiate. And they knew that once that cooling period is off, as union having received a certificate of non-resolution, we will give them a date when the strike would resume in the best interest of our own members, because we firmly believe that they can improve the current offer on the table, but they are blackmailing workers, they are blackmailing the public, and we're saying this strike must continue so that they themselves, they must be exposed to the extent that they seek to want to continue to subject workers to super exploitation in this particular industry. But not just that. It should be accepted that when workers are on strike, it's no work, no pay, workers lose wages, and the bosses lose production. And production in this case is our communities that are suffering. Hence, we're saying we felt it was important today to call a press conference to inform the public about where we are. And we of the view that it's lousy 1% that these employers are blackmailing us. And we think if we were to get that 1% and we go back to our members will accept a settlement and this strike should be behind us. But we didn't just do that. We presented a very comprehensive input to employers, including the strategic nature of the parties coming together and begin to discuss the future of this industry. As you would know that we don't have an inherent public transport system where the state is basically subsidizing this industry because it is our communities that are suffering. We need a safe transport. And we're saying to them, listen, let's settle the strike. We need to begin those discussions so that we can engage with the Minister of Transport so that the future of public transport in this country is guaranteed. And if they were to get subsidies in the future, we'll be in a position not to always run to strike. There's no union here that want to continue to punish our own communities.
Just a brief explanation as to what are workers saying on the ground. What's the feeling from them since they are not obviously getting paid for this work? Are they willing to sacrifice all these days of not getting paid for this end goal that you guys are working for?
No, I think to answer on that question, as we have indicated when we start here, that we are the unions, meaning we are working with mandate. From the inception of the negotiations process, we've been engaging, conducting meetings with our members, wherein we got a mandate. So the position that we are presenting here is a position that we've been given by our members. And as my colleague have said here, strike to us, it was a last option to force the employer, because you'll understand that the relationship between the employer and the employees, it is in a way that where the employees is selling the labor to the employer and the employer have to remunerate the employees. But it is quite unfair when the employees are continuously selling their labor to the employer, but the employer is refusing to remunerate the employees accordingly. So we do have a mandate from our members. Yes, we understand that no work, no pay process has been invoked and it's affecting our members, but at the same time, we cannot allow the situation to be where it is now.
Just to add on that, our members, they are aware that the intransigence that we spoke about from the employers, last year when we were involved in these negotiations, our members settled or reluctantly settled on 9%. Now, they view this as an insult that a year later, when all these economic challenges that we spoke about are upon our members, the employers are proposing an offer of 8% and 8.5%. That on its own call for intensification of this the strike, firstly, but secondly, our members, they are prepared to fight to the last to the last in order to achieve at least where they settled on, last year, which is 9%. But at the moment, we are at 9.5% for the first year and 9% for 2008 to 2019, 2020.
Just a clarity point. When you said that you want your members to intensify the strike, are you hoping maybe to also call on other bus companies to also join in the strike? And what do you mean by that?
Okay. I think what's important is that this strike is a protected strike. And therefore, when we're calling for intensification, we're saying to those who are in the strike, they must tighten the belt. We know this is no work, no pay, but they must continue to pursue class struggle because it is the only guarantee for change. But we're also saying to those who are non-union members, who stand to benefit to the strike, they are allowed legally, they are protected to join the strike. Because whatever we settle on, it will be the benefit of all. And we're saying in that sense, to workers, united we stand, divided we fall. It's time for workers in this industry and all unions, as we have demonstrated here today, that employers always win once we are divided. It is workers who suffer. The unity of workers in this case, those who are not non-union members and all those who are looking around, they are not sure. We're also calling on communities to defend the strike. We don't want scabs among Gundwana in the places where workers are working, because for every person who's got a job, support 1 to 3 extended families who do not have a plate of food. In 2017, as the year was coming to an end, it was about 30.4 million South Africans who don't have a plate of food. They depend on these bus drivers who are carrying those communities. So this strike, more than anything else, it can only survive if the working class stand together in solidarity. I think you're very clear now.
Done.
Besides the wage increase itself, that you are not happy about?
No, we are not happy about the approach that the employers have taken. We are aware that there are some other employers who are signing in-house agreement with the employees, wherein they offer their employees 10%, which is more than what we are requesting here. And we know the strategy for that is to divide us. We are calling to those employers that this is a platform where all of us, we need to come and negotiate, and we are open for negotiations, and they must stop what they are doing.
Can I also elaborate on the sticky issues? Look, these negotiations are not only about ATP, which is a percentage, but it's also about other important benefits to workers. One, maybe I must point out to the issue of the dual drivers. We have a situation where a driver, especially those on a long haul, who takes long distance, there will be two drivers in a bus, and the employers apply what we call a foot on the pedal principle. If you are not your foot is not on the pedal, then you are not getting paid. You are not getting paid at all, and that is a problem. So as far as the situation stands now, they are enjoying what we can call a free labor from the workers. The second sticky point is an issue of insourcing. You know, this is a bargaining unit. We are bargaining here because there's a defined bargaining unit. So we have agreed about certain job categories which we define as a bargaining unit, and you'll find out of those defined bargaining unit, there are especially cleaners. You find them outsourced, and you get surprises to say, why do we negotiate here? At the end of the day, after we have negotiated, those people are outsourced. So it doesn't make sense. Why? It's one of the sticky points which employers don't even want to listen to us about that issue. And the other sticky issue is an issue of night shift. You'll know that night shift is defined in the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. And as far as we understand the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, it gives you a minimum terms and conditions of work. It protects workers to say you cannot go below that act. But here in the industry, because the act is saying night shift is 6 in the evening until 6 tomorrow morning. But in this industry, night shift starts 8 o'clock until tomorrow 3 o'clock. So it doesn't make sense. Why would we open our own network, whereas the network has taken a decision? It's a problem. So we want also to address those things. Thank you very much.
We're done. We basically want workers to be paid allowance on night shift, as it is defined by the Basic Condition of Employment. And employers are contracting out by being stubborn. And workers, obviously, they are not joining unions for anything. They don't like us to continue to allow what is given to them by the law, but is taken away from them because of union negotiations with employers. We're fixing that through this strike. And I think that should be clear that it is not us who are causing trouble. It's not workers. There's law. We say they must comply with the law. They are refusing to comply with the law. Do you want to say something?
Yeah. I suppose on this aspect of the night shift, maybe it will be important to elaborate of the intention and the clear intentions that these employers are up to. Bus drivers are expected to pick up a bus at 3 o'clock in the morning. They drop off, they work very long hours. They will drop off buses at about 8 p.m. Now they have come up with a funny system. The system is to say, we know you are going to work hours that fall in terms of the BCEA as defined as night shift, but we don't want to pay you. So they come up with this agreement that it is currently applicable that says your night shift is from hours 8 p.m. to hours 3 a.m. So when you pick up a bus at 3 a.m. and you work for that 3 hours, it's not regarded as what you call as night shift hours. So it's actually a scam designed just to rob workers out of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. So we have realized that this is an anomaly that needs to be dealt with. And in this strike, we seek to ensure that that anomaly is corrected. Thank you.
Are there any more questions?
Just one last clarity. So were the employers, they wanted you guys to settle on this 9% if you guys drop all of these other demands, such as the night shift and
No, they came here just to adopt the mediation, the submission which was made to parties by the mediator of 8.5 and 8%. That's what they were willing to put on the table, and they were demanding that we must do away with all other fundamental banning issues that are on the table. I mean, they had time to look at that. Why would we take workers to strike if they were willing to do that? And why workers should just suddenly now drop all their crucial issues that we're unpacking here? That you sit in a bus, you drive all the way to Cape Town from Johannesburg, you are not paid for those hours. You'll only be paid on the hours when you drive. Workers don't want that. They want to, when they leave their families there at work, they want to be paid. Yeah.
I would like to say something. I think in this bus strike there's been an unnamed partner, and which is you, the media, and for that we thank you very much. Your support has been overwhelming. Your support has been everything. I hope we can keep this up as we go on with the strike. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right?
Viva media, viva. I knew. Yes.
Yeah? Can I email it to you?